surely need some help tonight, children. You ever get that brain worm when something is just in your head and you cannot get it out? It's a word or a song or something. For me, it's called Slipping in the Darkness or something. What is that? It's... I've been digging this mass grave for, I don't know, about 2 hours now, and it has not come to me. And I'm not gonna check my phone, because if I do, that means I lost. Sometimes the best way to remember something is to forget it. Platitude though it may be, it does not make it any less true. I seem to remember a story where it was a man who also had voices in his head. What was it called? Karate Kid? Well, it feels like Karate Kid. I don't think it's called Karate Kid. No, wait. The name of this story tonight is Mr. Nickel by Montsho Shelby.
"Why don't you get a job, you fucking bum?" said the loud and belligerent teenager to a man triple his age. Yelling as loud as the kid did only put the sound slightly over the roaring traffic of the underpass. "You know, there's a limit to the amount of shit I'm gonna take off you, son. Now move it along before I slit your throat," said the scraggly vagrant. There were 3 of them in all, 5 some days. The kids looked into the old man's eyes, one so beady it was red. The other one didn't move, and was so dark it was black. They saw in him the anger to follow through on his threat. They backed down, they walked away, cursing him every step. The old vagrant smirked. He still had it. It hadn't started yet. He could tell by the look in the children's eyes. They were just assholes. Give it a week or 2 and there wasn't going to be any amount of mean mucking that could change their minds. The bum was dressed in tattered rags that seemed to be pieced together like a dirty quilt. It was going to be dark soon, so he sought out the safety of the underpass. He had found an underground train station a few days back that seemed as if it were abandoned for 30 years or more. Just from the moldy stench that crept out when he moved the boulder clued him into that. After traversing the darkest crevices of this worn place, one that puts you in the mind of a ruined dungeon of a forgotten land, he hefted a stone that was bigger than his entire body. He moved it so effortlessly, one would never have believed it had weight. Water dripped from some far-off place, and his footstep echoed like a cave. He saw the train tracks, rusted beyond recognition, and faded out letters on crumpled bricks. If he could, he would keep this place, this sanctuary. The bum nestled into a rocky alcove. He kept still and quiet. For as long as he remembered, if he listened hard enough and concentrated, the metal that held half his head in place resonated with radio waves. For the longest time, he thought he was insane, until he sorted it out for himself. On a clear day, he could hear local radio, cell phone signals in the area, or even radios of emergency vehicles nearby. The voices that used to be his curse ended up saving his life more than once. It kept him one step ahead of people that wished to do him harm. He settled in tight. If he was lucky and God smiled on him, he may just catch a ball game. He reached into his sack and grabbed himself a warm beer. He put it to his right eye and popped the top with the hard metal inside. The bum rested his 2x4 at his side. There was tape all around the base, as if it were a makeshift handle. He traveled light because he always traveled. Now he had a place. Maybe he would stay here longer than usual, if he could. He rested his eyes. There was nothing good on in his head anyway. He could smell the dawn coming like the smell of fresh coffee. He always liked to watch the sun firsthand. He sat next to the foliage of the expressway above. He was barely moved by the annoyance of noisy morning traffic jams, though he did notice something running at full steam his direction. Given his history, it wasn't something he could easily dismiss. It was a boy no older than 15 running over the horizon down the field towards the underpass. Hot on his trail were 4 boys much bigger than he was. From the thick grass, he could tell a few of them were from the day before. The hobo reflexively checked to see if he had his knife on him, even though he was certain he wasn't going to use it. When the prey got to the underpass, the predators moved in. There was little talk involved. It was just punches and kicks wildly being thrown. The prey didn't fight back. He looked a bit too weak to fight back anyway. The bum waited a few moments before he came out of his hiding spot, curious to see if the kid could handle himself, whether through reason or because he had moves enough to back them off. "What's going on down here?" he yelled to the kids. The bullies turned to him. "It's that fucking bum again," said one of the children. "You stinky asshole, get out of here," yelled another kid. "Don't make me come up there, you ain't gonna like it," said the vagrant. He kicked the first kid's legs from under him so fast it scared the other 3. All of them backed away. The bum kicked the one he dropped in his ass just to keep him moving. The others knew they couldn't beat this bum, so they ran away like the cowards they were. The skinny teenager that was the recipient of the violence unfurled from his fetal position like an uncoiled slinky. He looked around as if he was only vaguely aware of what was happening. "Did you do that? Did you trip Derek with your feet like UFC?" said the kid to the bum. "I don't know what the little motherfucker's name was. All I know is they're going to jail or somebody's gonna put a bullet in them one day. Go on, stay in school and all that shit," said the vagrant. "Thank you, mister. What should I call you?" said the boy. The bum fought for a long while. A part of him wanted to be snide, and another part of him was proud to receive the praise. It conjured emotions that mostly went untapped. "Call me Nickel, all right?" said the vagrant. "Thank you, Mr. Nickel. I'm Jeremy," said the boy while heaving his book bag over his shoulder and fluttering off. Mr. Nickel smiled, a true smile, but masked it through gruff cynicism. Mr. Nickel. He'd been called a lot of things, but Mr. was not one of them. The burly vagrant collected his thoughts. Maybe he was a mister. His face looked like road maps of stories. To any human's eyes, he was about 50-something, dirty blonde, whose hair was long as a lion's mane flopping over his shoulders. Curiously, his unkempt facial growth was a slightly different color than the hair atop his head. No one called him on it because no one ever got close enough to look. Upon slowing his mind down for a moment, Scander, he'd probably been walking this road for enough years to fit his face. So maybe he had earned the title of Mr. Nickel. The wretched patchwork creature mused for a moment, moving the boulder to his private sanctuary. He had his fill of action for tonight, or so he thought. Once he pushed the block back in front of his private lair, he heard hungry whispers echoing throughout.